If you want to put text on a poster or a slide or any kind of document, you'll see that Canva makes it very easy to be very quick and productive, but also be very creative. Let's go ahead and see how it allows you to do that. So I'm going to go over here to my text tab, and once I get there, you'll see that we have a number of different options available for me, including just adding on a basic heading or subheading for more professional style documents. But if you want to be a little more creative, you'll see here we have these font combination groups. And you scroll down, you have some that are going to be a little bit more kind of fun and graphic oriented. But notice how it is combining different styles of fonts, more bold, maybe some have drop shadows, some have little buttons already preset. And if you keep scrolling down, it just continues to have almost this sort of infinite scroll associated with it. So let's go ahead and just choose any one at random. I'm going to choose this coffee break. I click on that and then it just shows up there, and then very easily I can now move it around. Now because this coffee break is on this little curve, as I click and drag on it, it brings up this curve for me. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to very simply delete it. When I click on the text, you'll see that I get a number of different options that appear right here, giving me the option to delete it, but also giving me the option to change the font size, the color, and even some animation and effects. But I'm going to go ahead and delete this now, and I'll go ahead and bring in another one. Let's go ahead and scroll back up again, and this is just going to be kind of a preset for me. So let's go ahead now and just try this. This is next level. I bring that up. And now, just like that, I'm going to have this ready. This is not a curve, so you can see I do not see that little curvy option there. Now, let's say, for example, I wanted to edit this. Well, if I wanted to edit text, it's very simple. All I do is double click on the text, and you can see how this individual text box now appears. I'm going to come over to here, and you'll see that this is a separate text box. So now I'm just going to type out safety, and then the next one is going to be in the, and after that, workplace. And I'm just going to click away. Now, all of these items can be manipulated. That is the cool thing about everything that we're seeing here. So if I were to very simply now go over here to safety, highlight all my content, and decide I want to use a different font, once I click on my little font options on the left-hand side, I get all the fonts available to me. Let's go ahead and just choose one that's a little bit bigger. And then I'm just going to now increase the size of my font just like that. And then my in the is going to be much, much smaller. So notice I can then click on the number and then bring this down to, let's say, 18, maybe a little bit bigger than that. And then I also want to change the font style. So I click back on font. I'll just choose a nice one that's a little bit easier to read. And then here's my text color. Very easy. I'm just going to go ahead and make that black. And then in the workplace right here is now going to also be a different font. So now let's go ahead and make that a little bit more graphical, and I'll bring that down. So now one thing you might notice is that this is actually grouped together. Okay, now I didn't ask it to do that, it came like that. So if I want to have a little bit more independence around these, notice I can also ungroup. Now one way of getting these options as well is right clicking. So when you right click, you get a lot more options here. Here's copy, paste, duplicate, and then guess what? Here is ungroup, and now they're all going to be independent of each other. So I can very easily now click and drag this, and then if I wanted to, I can now change the rotation element of that just by clicking on that little icon. And now come over here to safety. I'll do the same thing, clicking on this icon. And once again, notice how they are independent of each other. And then if I want to work with this one, I can do that just the same. But I'll keep it just like this for now. I'm going to go ahead and get out of this for right now. I want you to see what it looks like when we have a template implemented. So I'm going to go back to my hamburger menu. I'll just go ahead and choose templates. And then from here, let's go ahead now and choose social media. And now let's just take any one of these. I'll say social sports, and then open this one up. And once again, this is a video. I'll click on customize this. And now you'll see that I do have this font already ready to go. Now, once I click on it, I can then start manipulating this just the same. So when I click on this here, I can now change the font to something completely different very easily. And then if I want to make this a little bit wider, I can do that. I can move this around. I can make this smaller. Okay, so the point here is that I initially was doing something from scratch, but the same process works when you are working with a template, where when you manipulate the text, we have all the same options and the same functionality. Now, if you're doing just a standard document, it's important to also note that we have very word processing type of options for us as well, like our alignment, our bullets and numbering, as well as also working with our spacing. And if you want to get a little more fancy, just note that you do have certain kind of effects that you can apply, like for example, a drop shadow. And then you can also control the offset, the direction, how much that drop shadow is going to blur, and also even the color of the drop shadow. Let's get out of that. Take a look at some of our other effects, and you'll see here that you have the option to put an outline around it, even a neon glow, and it's worth really experimenting with these. But if I just simply choose outline, notice how that puts an outline around it. I can control the thickness of it, and I can control the color of it. Let's go ahead and make that black, and you can see that looks a lot more visually interesting, and it's very simply just by going over here to effects. And when we start talking about images and image manipulation, you're going to see that we also have some similar options there, but for images instead of text. So try it out either with your own text or working with some of the pre-built ones that Canva offers.